lost all control. Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She caught me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal Night Terrors. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I'm here with you. I'm here with you for the duration of the journey, so you got that going for you. Hope you guys are having a great weekend, or what's left of it anyway, but thank you for spending that here with me on the show. As always, the phones will be open throughout the duration of the show. If you got something paranormal you want to share, just let me know. Give me a call at 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500 is your passport to fun here on the Paranormal Portal. So lots of opportunities to get involved. You can also email stories in, or if you got a bunch of stories and you'd love to share them, be a guest on our podcast, please email me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. Again, paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. So we got a great show lined up for you tonight, a lot of ghostly encounters, so who doesn't love a good ghost story? So I think we're about ready here. I hope you're ready, because, well, it's time for bed. I hit the wrong button on the way. Kathy said I scared her. Sorry. No, the show's not over. It looked like it was over for a second there, but I hit the credits rather than the intro video. So that's what you get when I'm just spiking the ball here all by myself. So I hope you guys are doing great. Lots of you coming in. Good to see you all. Oh, that's weird. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Let me see. That's up. Okay, great. Wow, great show. Great crowd stumbling in already. So thank you guys for being here. And let's get the ball rolling, because I'm sure you're not here just to hear me talk. It might be part of the reason you're here, but you're here for the paranormal, and that's what I plan to deliver. Almost an hour is full of it, so hopefully I do a good job and keep you wildly entertained, or at least mildly entertained. We'll see how I do, but let's get going. The first story tonight is coming out of Louisiana. This is, it's funny. I just had an experience just a little bit ago, hearing from a listener reaching out to me for some assistance on some crazy stuff they were doing. And a special thank you to Sean Gonzalez. Once again, Sean is one of the wonderful people who have offered themselves to help, and he was able to get in there and help assist this listener with their problem, and hopefully it's all been resolved. But thank you, brother. It's wonderful to have you here to be such an amazing help in these situations. We couldn't do it without you. So special thank you to Sean Gonzalez once again. But let's keep going here. The first one is again from Louisiana. So let's get into this story and see what's going on. I want to share my story with you guys. Well, here it goes. I remember this like it was yesterday, and although I don't remember every detail, this happened about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was me and 3 of my cousins. We'll call them M, T, and S. The story behind it is my cousin T's husband died in a car accident. She was picking him up from work when they got into an accident, and he was already sick, and the car was a real small car. Not to mention that he was a really big guy, and well, when they got in the accident, he died from him having a fever of 105 or something like that. Well, she took this very hard. So one day, being weirdos that me and my cousin M are, we decided to see if we could talk to him. We heard that if you write down a question on a piece of paper the person in question is intended for will answer the question. Well, we decided to try it, not thinking it would work. My cousin had a really, really dark room, and the lights were off, door closed, and curtains drawn. My cousin Em and I always talk about scary stuff like ghosts, death, and other crazy things. The nights before this, we just couldn't sleep because we were so scared that we had to sleep during the day. An overview of the way her room was set up. When you walk in, to the left of you is a big dresser with a mirror and the TV, and to the right of you is another big dresser with a mirror on it. Straight ahead of you is a dresser drawer unit with the 3 drawers and the little drawers that open for more space for clothes. I forgot what it's called. I don't know either, I guess. But a closet to the left of that, and the bed to the right. And the bed is against the wall. The window is on. And then there is a door next to the bed that leads to the porch. Anyway, back to the story. I was sitting with my shoulder against the closet back. Back is against the dresser thingy. T was sitting next to me, then M and S, with her shoulder against the bed. And we got a piece of paper, wrote the question on the paper, said our person's name, who I will not say because of the second experience I had with saying his name, which will be another story. But 3 times, and tossed the paper in the air. And wouldn't you know it, the paper landed right by my foot. We waited not even 5 seconds after tossing the paper and saying the name, a large, very dark shadow approached. The shadow was at the end of my foot. And now remember, the room is pitch dark, but the shadow was an even darker blackness. I don't remember being cold or any such thing. And well, after not being able to take the scariness out of it, we moved. The shadow disappeared. And we turned the lights on and read the paper, and the question we wrote was, "Do you forgive me?" For the simple fact she blamed herself. And as I write this, I get the feeling that makes your eyes water. The question the answer we never expected. It's not your fault. And it trailed off. And we knew what it said. I was so amazed that it actually worked. My cousin T did not believe us, and she said we did it, but it was impossible. We were all holding hands. She didn't see the shadow. She was the only one not to see the shadow. And we don't know why she wasn't able to see the shadow either. The handwriting was very shaky, too. It was so weird and interesting, but that was the last time it worked. We tried it again with my cousin M's parents, but it didn't work. And I tried it again with my friends and nephew and his friends, but I don't think they truly believed in it. But that's why it didn't work. And that's the whole story. Now, that's really weird. Now, there is no other story submitted by this person, so I have no idea what the other story with mentioning the name is. But apparently there was something else. But they had not submitted a second story, so we can't read that. That's a real phenomena, though, ladies and gentlemen. The whole idea of a room can be pitch black, and then a spirit can enter it, and or some presence, and I don't know how to surmise what this presence is, but that's the phenomena that's like the darker than dark, the blacker than black, and I know I've experienced something like that, but I always thought it was just visual anomalies. But our good friend Dan Pruitt, who's a paranormal investigator, is talking about he was doing an investigation in a state hospital that's been abandoned, and he and the other researchers were in a room, and they even had equipment on hand that would measure the ambient light. And he said it was just pitch black in this room. There was no ambient light at all that he could tell. But he said as they were sitting there in this pitch blackness, over by the doorway, which he knew where it was because, of course, they had lights on at some point there. They were sat on the floor, and he said over by the doorway, suddenly he saw a blackness enter the room. And it was blacker than the pitch black. And it was significantly blacker than the pitch black. And it entered the room and came through, and then they felt the chills and everything as well, the cold air that usually accompanies these manifestations of spirits. And then it left. And he said that he checked his equipment, and it actually did register on the ambient light detector that it got darker than it was throughout the duration of that experience. So he had actual corroboration through equipment that validated the experience. Now, it's hard to understand, well, if there's no light, how can there be less than no light? But apparently there is still some light, measurable lights, perhaps even infrared. Who knows? I don't know if it includes other light spectrums or not. But the point being that apparently it's very possible to see entities that are darker than the dark, and that comes up all the time in the paranormal, ladies and gentlemen. People always report seeing these apparitions that are blacker than black, the inky blackness in the corner or at the foot of the bed, or resembling a human shape. And it's hard to understand what that is, because you think if a room is pitch black, well, there is no light to see. There's nothing that's possible to see. But apparently it is still possible to see. And in this case, it was recorded. It was actually corroborated by a light sensor. So I thought that was a really phenomenal piece of investigation, because it definitely validates that this is a real phenomenon. That is an actual presence of some kind that is mobile. It moves. It's not just a stationary place where the light doesn't get in. It was something that moved into the room, was in there with he and the other investigators, and then moved out of the room again. And it was something they saw with their eyes and were able to record on the equipment. So I think that's incredibly profound. It's incredibly disturbing as well, because what does that mean? What does the darkness mean? And again, we go back to our prejudices, and I don't mean racially. This is not a racial thing, but the good guys wear white hats, the black guys or the bad guys wear black hats, like in the old westerns. That was how they identified the good guys versus the bad guys. Well, and we think that carries true with things like spiritual apparitions. Well, a light or white apparition is a good apparition, and the dark, shadowy ones are the bad ones. Well, I don't know that that's the case, and I don't think that that's any measure to guide you on how to deal with these entities. So it's strange. It could have been just a benign presence that was conscious and was there, but wasn't trying to be disruptive or anything. Maybe it was just passing through. Notice these people were there and we're checking them out, but it certainly doesn't mean it's an automatic indicator for evil. So don't allow yourself to get into that kind of thinking. It doesn't mean it's not, though, either. So take it as you will, I guess. But it is a real phenomenon. It has been measured, and so it's a real thing. And I believe Dan with all my being. I mean, I know Dan. I've investigated with Dan in the ghost town of Coloma in Montana, and we had some really great experiences over there. The videos of which are on the YouTube channel here. If you go to the investigations playlist, you will see the Coloma videos, and they're quite long. There's several hours, but some great stuff we found and captured. So check them out if you haven't already. All right. So, and we'll be going there again this year in the second weekend in July, we'll be going over to Coloma, Montana to investigate again. And we're going to do a tandem kind of investigating. When we went last time, it was primarily ghost investigating, but we're going to do some Bigfoot investigating with the Duke as well. We're going to do some, get out there and see what we can find in that regard as well. So the next story is Rhode Island. We're going to head over to Rhode Island this time. Hold on a sec. I got a cough. Okay, so this is it has to do with apparitions, voices, and touches. The Naval War College was established on Coasters Harbor Island in October of 1884, and it was originally located in a recently vacated public asylum, but has extended into 4 interconnected buildings. The original building now houses the international students attending courses at the college and to hear watchstanders standers tell the story. One of the creepiest, and this is my experience with a full bodied apparition. Excuse me, sorry about that. I had to cough. All right, so this is a full bodied apparition. June 2005, late night on a Saturday night, 03:15. I know because I logged this event in the watch log. I was on the quarterdeck, front desk, as officer of the deck, OOD, and my petty officer of the watch, of course, they give me acronyms for everything. So, petty officer of the watch is POOW, was out on patrol, and he had just entered Luce Hall, LUCE, the original building of the college. I was monitoring the entryway cameras, and I saw a man dressed in a full dress officer uniform, early 1900 style, and he even wore a hat and had a long beard. As the shock of seeing him wore off, I realized that this individual had entered in from a door that is locked overnight and on weekends without setting off the alarm. Well, it was 3:15 a.m. for those non-military time folks, and that he was wearing a winter uniform, and we were already in our summer whites. Well, I called the roving patrol, and he was on the same floor as this door, and he headed right for it. And before long, I saw him on the camera, but he had not seen or heard anybody enter the building or walking the hallway. He had felt a cool breeze pass him in the hall, but he had seen and heard nothing. I had him complete his patrol and rejoin me on the quarterdeck. I'd pulled up the camera footage of this man entering the building, and it was my POOW who noticed something I had not noticed before. The door the man had entered from never opened, at least not on camera. We watched this many times, many times, and sure enough, this apparition walks right through the door and up the hallway, leaving the camera's view within about 4 to 5 steps. I wish I could have made a copy of this footage, but of course I couldn't. One of the hazards of being enlisted, the equipment is not yours, nor is anything you record on watch. That was written by a gentleman named Rook, or goes by the name of Rook. What a wild story. Wow. Sure. I find that completely plausible. They're out there, ladies and gentlemen. These apparitions are out there. All right, this one's in Ohio, and what's going on there? It says this one's pretty short, actually. Wonder what's supposed to be there. It looks like there's supposed to be a sound file. Oh, I'm not going to read this one. That's a EVP researcher one. They always read like logs, and they're hard to translate into a narrative. So let's go to the next one. This is Indiana. God, I'm froggy tonight. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. For the longest time, I was blamed for waking up my brother, and he's 11 years younger than me, and our rooms are right next to each other. So when he goes to bed, it's basically lights, radios, and TV out until he is soundly sleeping. Then I can quietly listen or watch what I like, and Mama even got me some earphones so that I could be even quieter. And it got so bad that I was sent to bed at the same time as him. About a month ago, I decided to see what would happen if I slept out in the family room, and I guess I wanted to prove to my parents that I was not waking him by accidentally kicking the bookcase that is at the foot of my bed and up against the wall of his room. Around 10 at night, the door opened. The light from his nightlight was so bright, and the triangle that came out of the room landed right across my eyes. So I woke up. A triangle? What? So it woke me up. I'm sorry. I waited for him to come out the door, but he didn't. So I walked up to the door to see what he was doing, and he was sleeping. The room was as bright as if the overhead light was on, and I couldn't remember his nightlight being that bright. I went back to the couch thinking he had woken up and was too hot, so he opened the door to get more air in, like I have to sometimes. And around one, I heard him walking across the floor. We have one weak spot, and it squeaks a little when walked on, so I went to see if he just wanted to sleep with me instead of waking up Dad and Mama. When I went into his room, he was sitting on the edge of his bed. He was rubbing his eyes and asking someone to be quieter. He was trying to sleep. I asked him who he was talking to because I was being quiet, and he pointed to the left side wall, the one that my bookcase is on the other side of, and said, Him. He wants to play. Well, there wasn't anybody there. I climbed over my brother and wrapped my arm around his tummy and told him I would tell his friend to leave if he got too loud, and that he was supposed to go to sleep. My brother did, but I never did see his friend. Oh, man, that's creepy, huh? Sorry, I'm just really, really froggy tonight. My apologies. Yeah, those kids see all this stuff, ladies and gentlemen. They do. I really believe it. Kids see it. They experience a lot of things that we adults just can't seem to catch. And again, don't know why, but they're just definitely more tuned in than we are. This one's from Indiana, and it's has to do with psychic and mediums. Speaking of psychic and mediums, this Friday night on the show, and it is Valentine's, right? Valentine's is Friday night, yeah. So this Friday on our show, we're going to be welcoming our very own Deborah Varner to the show, and she'll be doing live call-in readings to callers of the show. So pay attention to the phone number, and it'll be Friday night, beginning at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we may do a little bit of overtime on YouTube if we get a lot of callers, but not a whole bunch. We'll do some. But that'll be Friday night, and she'll be doing the reading. She's amazing. If you haven't experienced Deb, you should definitely tune in. Just a great time, a good chance to get some advice looking ahead in your life, and maybe she can give you some guidance or some information from your guides that might help you on your journey. I've been listening to Deb do this for years, and it still just boggles my mind. I mean, it's just really cool, and it's a great honor to have her on. So that'll be Friday night here on the show. Don't miss it. Hold on. Sorry about that. All right. This one is Psychic Medium, as I said, from Indiana, and it says, our 5-year-old got too close. What? Our 5-year-old got too close where we spent Halloween night. Oh, he got to choose. I'm sorry, I'm reading that wrong. Our 5-year-old got to choose where we spent Halloween night. As his 16-year-old sister was going with friends to an organized haunted house, after giving him the choice of a few neighboring cities, he chose Middlebury. We parked the truck on Main Street and headed out to gain some treats for our futuristic police officer. He got to pick which way to go and what streets to hit and all of that. And the town was small enough that all we really had to do was to turn around if we got lost and simply look for traffic. If there was a vehicle moving, that was Main Street. Children were running up to houses, and he was just calmly making his way up this street and down the next, around the corner, and he stopped. And he kind of cocked his head to the side as if trying to hear things a bit more clearly or remember something that was just beyond his reach. We actually had to stop him from to have him go up on the porches for treats. And when we got to this one particular street, he broke into a shining smile and said, "Yep, this is the street." And his dad and I just looked at him, and Daddy said, "But you missed all those other houses. You only have a few pieces of candy." "I know, but this is where I need to be today, Daddy." And well, honestly, who could argue with that? Up on the porch was Jack Sparrow, and I think that is the name of the pirate on the Pirates of the Caribbean, and Sarah Palin. Our police officer got in line and was headed up to the porch when my husband silently grabbed my arm and pointed to a plaque attached to the porch, which stated the home was registered on www.hauntedhouses.com. Ooh. All we had on hand was Daddy's cell phone, but we shot off the photo anyway, and our son was up there talking to Jack. All the rest of the children had wandered away and off to collect more goodies, and there he stood talking to the pirate. He turned to talk to Sarah Palin just as I grabbed my husband's arm and whispered, lack of upbringing here. I pointed at the doorway. "Look at that." And Daddy started towards our son. "No, wait, watch." Our son looked past Sarah and into the house, and Sarah and Jack stood up and walked over to Sarah. What? Jack stood up and walked over to Sarah and whispered something to her, and both of them were looking between our son and us, still standing out on the street on the sidewalk. Our son smiled really big and said, "Oh, he's Amish." And Sarah said, "Who?" "The man in your house. I thought he was dressed up like you, but that is who he is." Total silence. "Can I talk to him?" "Oh, well, we see," stammered both of them. And I stepped up slightly and said in my most calming voice, "It's all right. He will not hurt him. He will not try to scare him. He just wants to know why he's here." "He can do that?" "Yep, he can do that." About a half hour later, our son says, "Thank you. It's been a pleasure to meet you. Maybe I see you again." Sarah and Jack were speechless, but brought themselves together enough to tell him that would be a pleasure, and our son paused on the step, turned around to Sarah and Jack and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I like meeting you too. Can I come back?" To which he obtained a standing invitation to return, which we did the following weekend. Excuse me. When we returned, we did a tour of the house and the garage area, and I had asked permission to walk through with my son and to share in the experience, and permission was granted to the entire family. After talking a bit in the house, I started to notice my son's actions. He was basically allowed to do as he pleased, and he had made quite an impression on the husband and wife who lived here. While the adults were talking, our 5-year-old began to wander. "Where are you going, Mr. Sam? Can I come too?" "Oh, could you stay with us for a few minutes, please, sir?" I don't understand the narrative of this story, ladies and gentlemen. It's not poorly written. It's just, I don't know who's talking. It's not being attributed to anybody, but it's in quotes. So I'm just going with it. He walked around the living room, seemed to watch someone either stack or stoke a fire, and wandered out into the kitchen, wandered back through the living room, and then out into the garage. And he was definitely following someone. In the lull of the conversation, our son came barreling into the house through a side door that we were not aware of. They had neglected to show us that. It was a hidden passage from the workshop to the house in the event that Sam would work late at night on a special design. I thought he had come through the wall. "Hurry, we have to go now." So we jumped up and went out in the garage, and Sam had let our son know that he needed to go to town to see the banker. In his quest to retrace his steps as before, our son had tried to stop him, but he was determined to find his family. And that is when our son ran in to get us. Our son started down the drive and was following. We stopped at a dime store, and I asked why he was there. It was raining, and none of us stopped to grab our jackets. We didn't think we were going to walk a few blocks. He just pointed straight up. Above the door on the second floor was chiseled "Middlebury Trust and Loan." We all stood outside and waited for a total of 20 minutes, when we then followed our son as he headed a bit further down the street to the hardware store, where we waited outside for about 10 minutes. Then our son simply spun on his heel and started walking back to the house. He kind of skipped along like he was having a heyday, enjoying himself, when all of a sudden he stopped, as if he ran into a wall, and grabbed his head and started howling. There he dropped to the ground. He dropped to roll on the ground, just making this awful noise. I'll be honest, I froze. I had no idea what to do to help him. I started for him, but my husband grabbed my arm and shook his head no. Our teenager tried to squeeze past us to get to her brother, and Daddy stopped her to block her, and Daddy just pointed down to our son. We all watched in amazement as a kind of mist rose up. Logically, that could have been all in the fact that our son was warm and rolling around on a cold, wet sidewalk. From around him and dissipated, and after a minute or so of stunned silence, he just got up and slowly said, "Let's go back to the house. I have to see something." When we got back to the house, he said Sam was home. After sitting in the garage with Sarah and Jack for a while, our 5-year-old asked how important it was that their house was haunted. Sarah said it was pretty important. The town loves that there is such a documented place here, and they enjoy people coming from all around to check it out, check out the haunted home. And even if the majority of people never make it to the house, the town prospers in the warmer months when the tourists come to see the Amish crafts and such that the town offers. And an added pull is that there is a haunted house there. Our son asked about the man that walks further out of town but still on County Road 18, and they said he helps, but he is mostly only seen by the town folk. Our son sat down on the garbage can and said something to the effect of, "Here's the thing. Sam needs his wife and babies, and they aren't here. They're in a much better place than he should be, too." And Jack said, "Yeah, but he's stuck here. And we have had investigators here that are much older than you, and they left him alone. Why can't you?" And they said, "Because that's not what Sam wants. We like him here. He helps the town. But he can help no one if he's stuck. But we like him." And this is from Sarah. And our son was quiet, and then he whispered, "But his family loves him." You could have heard a pin drop. In the end, we cleansed, smudged, and blessed the house. We did the same with the garage, and then we were getting ready to leave. There was a sadness to both Sarah and Jack, but they still let our son check throughout the gutted car garage, and Jack is building a race car, and our boy was excited to see how it was going. As he was playing in the sunroof, he grabbed a flashlight and was looking into the dark areas of the car. Jack has fluorescent lighting up along the walls of the room, save for the wall leading to the hidden door. Our son heard a noise no one else did, and he looked up and said, "Bye, Mr. Sam. Hug your babies for us." And I snapped off a photo, and I have no idea if I grabbed something, but there was an interesting light formation that does not quite follow the line a flashlight would make, even if it's nothing. It's a peaceful photo all the same. Wow. I don't know what's happened to my voice. Oof. Historically, Sam is not the name of the man my son encountered on his visits to the home, and I changed his name and stayed away from a few of the distinguishing factors of the town to keep the privacy of those who may be affected by the story. Sam was out walking a bit late at night. It was not yet dark, and he was hurrying home from the store after meeting with the banker with candy for his babies and a present for his wife, and he had bought her a new bolt of cloth to make herself a new dress. He was very happy because his wife was going to be very pleased. They did well that year, and the new dress would be how he would let her know how well. He had twins, a boy and a girl, and both of them would be waiting at the big front window when he returned home. He thought that his wife was pregnant, and he whistled as he walked, and his step was light, and he lost his own thoughts of happiness, and out of nowhere came a blinding light. He knew nothing else. When he made it home, his babies were not at the window, his wife was nowhere around, and his beautiful, personally hand-carved furniture was replaced by the mass-produced junk made out of cardboard and chipped wood that was in the house now. The curtains were not made by his wife's hand, and there was nothing that was familiar, and these English were destroying his family home. Our son took that to mean he did not like Englishmen or those who were not Amish. So now Sam waits. He waits to wake up from his dream. He waits for his wife to return with his babies. He often retraces his steps to see where he went wrong, but cannot seem to see exactly what happened. He's tried leaving the cloth and candy sticks at home and coming back to it, but they are missing when he gets there as well. So he carries them all, the sticks in his right pocket, the bolt of cloth under his left arm, and each time he takes that walk. This man could not have been hit by a car. The street is a bit of a valley, and the sidewalks and the houses being on raised platforms, 4 or 5 steps will take you up to the sidewalk. Whatever hit him hit quick. He was all but a few blocks from his earthly home. Huh. That's pretty crazy. I'm sorry, my voice is just really screwed up. I was trying to take a nap before the show, but it didn't work. So it's probably just a sleepy voice. I'm sorry about that. I don't sound quite like myself. But I'm trying to work through it. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to turn into a toad here pretty quick. But what do you do? What do you do? All right. No, I got a really crappy voice tonight, guys. I don't know. I just feel really dry. Dry. I'm so dry. My God, my voice is so dry. Sorry about this. All right, the next one is Hawaii. Let's go there and see what's going on in Hawaii. It does happen. You're right, Pharmacy. By the way, happy birthday, Pharmacy. I know it's your birthday, ladies and gentlemen. Please feel free to wish Pharmacy a happy birthday in the chat room. It's his happy day, and I'm happy he's choosing to spend part of it here with us. So happy birthday. I hope you had a great day. I got people watching. That's why I know. My people have people. All right, so let's go to Hawaii and see what's going on. This was recent, just last week. I took my trusty sidekick, Faith. What the hell does that mean? On a walk around the heliport. I don't know what Faith is. I'm assuming a dog. I live around 12 minutes away, and it's a healthy 3-mile jaunt along a dirt trail, and we were walking at a fast pace. And my dog was sniffing along the fence that borders the trail. It was a dog, see? It is a dog. This next part is kind of disgusting, but it's true. We find a dead pig carcass in the brush, and I think with all the cookouts taking place on the island wide, pig leftovers get tossed all over the island, and I'm not sure why they don't bury them. And my dog and I, we find at least 2 a day. It's not an odor you want to smell. I get really annoyed when a trade wind pushes that smell into my face. Even the dog wrinkles her nose. It's pretty potent. On this specific day, I was happy as one can be, and the day was a sunny A sunny 84, and the humidity was low. My skin was warm to the touch, and my leg muscles felt strong and fluid. It was a good day. But this was about to change. My dog was ahead of me about 10 steps away when she jumped away from the large bush she was investigating. I figured it was probably a feral cat. They grow really big here, and Faith is barely an 11-pounder. She ran to me like her backside was on fire, and I laughed at the look in her face, and she turned around for me to pick her up, so I obliged, chuckling at her shivering little body. And nothing to be scared of, silly dog, I whispered into her ear. I could tell she was looking at me for answers, so I put her on the ground nearest to the fence and told her to stay. I didn't have to tell her twice, and she hovered low to the ground, her eyes staring intensely at the scary bush ahead. I walked over looking for any signs of movements. I didn't hear or see anything out of the ordinary. It was a bush, nothing more, nothing less. I was about to call the dog over when I saw a big black bag. It was another step or two when I saw the first jawbone. I raised my eyebrows in surprise. Opening the bag a little wider with my foot, I saw it was filled with other bones, and was then that I heard the cows. It was horrible. I could hear them being slaughtered. Having the ability of second sight, I see stories unfolding in my mind's eye. I could live without being shown this one. Images of cows being hammered on the head with metal bars filled my mind, and I could hear the crushing blows on their throats as they collapsed onto coral fencing. The sound of their skulls caving in was not a pretty sound. It was horrible. I guess I was being shown how this full bag of bones, cow bones to be specific, had come to be here. I hate seeing scenes of death, but the next part I do like. Ghostly apparitions were appearing before me. It was the slaughtered cows, and they say that animals do not have souls, but they do have a type of living energy that moves on after death, and I could see them standing around, staying together in a large group. The ghostly cows seemed to be waiting for something, or someone. I could hear faint animal sounds coming from them. They seemed to be talking to one another, probably asking each other what had happened. It didn't take long before I saw the outlines of human-like entities entering the space where I stood. Stepping away from the scene unfolding, I watched as a ethereal being peered into the plastic bag in the bushes. He or she, I couldn't tell, but this was a beautiful being, angel or ghost, with shepherd duties. And then more of them appeared, and they seemed to be herding the cow apparitions into groups. The ethereal beings carried large staffs. I knew it. They were ghostly shepherds. I could see the landscape behind them and through them, and I stood still and watched. It was fascinating, and this was a first for me. Talk about timing to be there as they gathered the animals. I was in awe. These ghostly people or shepherds were dressed alike. They wore simple white skirts or shirts and tunic and pants, and it looked like some sort of tie was around the waist, and it looked to be twine colored, but I wasn't sure if it was a rope or a belt of sorts. And remember, ethereal beings show us what we will be most comfortable viewing, and these shepherds looked a lot like the Christmas picture postcards and Bible stories of my youth. This caused me to smile. In return, I did receive a sort of smile from one of the ghostly beings. It was very clear they were here to gather up the ethereal cows. I watched until they were out of sight and had faded away, and then I walked over to the bag of bones. I tied off the bag and carried it with me. It was heavy and cumbersome, but I got it back to my truck. Okay, I know that they were only cow bones, but it was something I had to do. I took that bag of bones and drove to a beautiful hillside. I dragged out my shovel, which I kept in the truck, in case I get stuck while off-roading, and I buried those bones minus the bag up there. And I stood back and looked over the valley below. I couldn't have picked a prettier place to put those bones. I looked down at my dog, and she seemed to approve. Her little face looked almost joyful. Okay, maybe I'm just reading something into her expression, but I felt good. The cows, I guess they were romping along in some ethereal pasture. You wonder about the pig carcasses? Yes, I know, bury them where they lay. Blessings. Well, that's cool. Excuse me. Ay. Not sure why the voice is so crackly tonight. I wonder if I'm coming down with something. That would suck. I don't like getting sick. All right, so the next one is California. California, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what's going on in California. No calls, so we're good. The old house hasn't shown any surprises for us for a while, so I thought I'd share a few older stories of strange but true encounters. I know they're true because they actually happened to me. If you're here, then you probably have a penchant for the spookier side of life, so I'll assume you're familiar with Nicole Kidman movie. Oh yeah, The Others. Nicole Kidman's movie. It's called The Others. If you haven't seen it, ladies and gentlemen, it's really cool. You should check it out. It's really well done. Nicole plays the mother of two young children and is convinced her house is haunted. In one scene, her character comes across a small figure sitting on the floor, draped in a semi-transparent sheet, and in my opinion, it's one of the spookier scenes from the movie. Now imagine encountering a scene like that in real life. I don't have to imagine it because I lived it. I start work at 6 a.m., so I'm well up before the rest of the family, and I'm usually at work before anyone else has even begun stirring. I prefer to shower in the morning, so in order to avoid disturbing the rest of the house, I shower with the bedroom door closed and the lights off, at least all the lights off, bar the bathroom, of course. This means that the hallway, which the bathroom and our bedrooms open on, is only illuminated by the light from the bathroom. This bathroom and hallway are actually the setting for all three of my short stories. One morning I was drying myself off after my shower. I thought I heard the door rattling, and I stopped and looked at the door and then thought I must have been imagining things, and which is when the door handle gave a couple of distinct shakes. Someone on the other side was obviously trying the handle, as if to open the door. For a second I felt safe in the knowledge that I was on the other side of the door, and then I thought of my wife and children asleep in their beds, so I summoned my courage, grabbed the door handle, and pulled open the door to confront whoever was on the other side. And another morning, I opened the door, and my blood ran cold. I just froze in place at what I saw. Unlike the first morning, there had been no warning rattle on the door handle, nothing to prepare me for the sight of a small figure draped in a white sheet, sitting just a couple of feet in front of me. Yeah, just like the others. And yes, it really happened. Not long ago, I had just given my daughter her bath, and because we had a new puppy who likes to explore anywhere and everywhere, we've begun closing doors to all the rooms which are off limits to her. This includes the bathroom. And just as I pulled the bathroom door closed behind me, I heard 2 knocks come from the other side. My daughter and I had just left the bathroom, so I knew it was empty, and those knocks had definitely been on the other side of the door. Sometimes being an adult, especially a father, is not all it's cracked up to be. Exploring strange sounds from empty rooms is all part of the job. You're wondering what had been rattling the door handle as I was drying myself, right? I'm not sure I'm not sure who got the bigger shock as I pulled the door open, my young son or myself. His bedroom is right next to the bathroom, and he'd woken up as I took a shower, wanting to see Dad. It had been he who'd been trying to push open the door when I pulled it open. The figure under the white sheet, well, that was my little boy as well. This time he'd gotten one of the little chairs and set it outside the door. Then, for some inexplicable reason, he'd chosen to drape his white crocheted blanket over his head before sitting down to wait for me to come out. Oh no. Finally, the knocks on the other side of the door knocks on the door from an empty room. We had one of those expandable shower rods, and as we were no longer using it, but I hate throwing things away, it had been standing in the corner behind the door. I'd hung my daughter's towel up on the rack right next to the shower, and which pushed it off balance. As I'd fully closed the door, the rod had overbalanced all the way and rolled across the face of the door. Being a panel door with slightly recessed sections, as the rod rolled across the door, it rolled back and out of these 2 recessed sections, and that's what made the knocking sounds. I do believe in spirits, but sometimes there's also very real explanations for things that go bump in the night. Well, that's fantastic. Why'd you waste all of our time with your mundane experiences? I guess he's proven a point. Fantastic. There's a couple phones. Let's see. Let's get to the first one. Thank you for that. All right. Let's see who's on the phone. All right. Area code 310. This is Sean, yeah?
Yep, that is I.
Hey, it is I. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Just thought I'd call in because you sound like you're getting a froggy, so they were saying give him a break, so I'm going to call and give you a break. You'd said something about several times on many of these videos, I keep wanting to call in and say it over and over again, is animals do have a soul. And I know people say, well, they have a kind of, no, they have a soul, just like any of us. And on more than one occasion, I've had to actually go and free large numbers of them. But my first experiences with them having souls, actually watching them, it was when my dog Phelan passed. We had to take him in to have him put down because at the age of 16, he had been a victim of that food-related event from the Beneful, which is the reason why I'm not a big fan of a particular food company ever again.
Sure.
And when I try not to get teary-eyed about this, but when the vet had pushed down the plunger, he was so weak. It was like a second later, and he was gone. His soul literally leapt out of his body, and to try and say, "I'm okay."
Oh.
He tried to jump up on me. Instead, he just knocked me down, and I watched him get pulled to the garden where. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to cry. This is one of the things I'm going to be working with Barb on. This one was a very traumatic experience because I didn't expect it to happen, just to watch the whole thing. So, yes, they have souls.
Sure.
The next time was when Loon passed, and he was in my arms. And I ushered him on to the other side, and I got to see what the garden looks like. It's a beautiful place. It's an ideal place for them. Every animal has their particular place where they can go and wait for you, or wait for their time to come back to you.
That's cool.
So, yeah, they definitely have souls.
I think they do too.
I really wish there was some way I could actually get people to not consider them a kind of soul or an aura. That's what we literally all are. And they're beautiful. And when it comes time for them to pass on, they become radiant.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Yeah, I believe they do too. I don't buy into that. Oh, they have no soul. It's like, well, in my opinion, if something is alive, it's got a soul. It may, like when you think of like fish and minnows, it might be a different kind of light, but it's still a soul.
Yeah, and they can come back to you as well, which is with cats. I found I've been lucky enough to have the same one return now 3 times, and it's very fun to know because all I had to do was accidentally do the sign for my deaf cat to come to me, and this new kitten comes running across the room because I forgot this one isn't that cat, and then he recognizes it and comes running after he'd been here for 3 months in the house, and it's like a great weight off my shoulders to know that Loon came back.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I get tired of hearing it because it is almost like an excuse to say, well, it's okay, that we do horrible things to them. We do. I do accept that we have to eat, and it's part of the circle of life.
Right.
But to demean it, to say, well, no, they're a different kind of spirit. No.
Yeah.
We're all made of the same material. Like Yoda said, luminous beings are we, not this crude matter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're not flesh bags. This is just our car. This is how we move.
Yeah. The euphemism I usually give people is that we're not the car. We're not even the person driving the car. We're the soul inside the person driving the car, because that's the closest way to analogize us being inside the astral body, controlling the physical body in the physical world. And this suit we're wearing is just a space suit. It just controls our abilities to manifest our energy and will in this space.
Mm-hmm.
And I was first told that by my very first big teacher in this great work that I do, and he just passed on February the 5th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
His name was Robert Rogers, and he was like a surrogate father to me. When I was in the California Boys Choir, he and Douglas Nesland were the ones who helped to shape me into the person I am, and he was a very spiritual man. Now, I'm not crying for him, mostly for my animals and my loss, but because Bob was ready to go quite some time ago. He was just one of those people who was like, I really am tired of being here. This body's breaking down, and I really want to get to the next world. He was such a spiritual man, and I realize now that he lasted this long because all of the choir boys, all of the alumnus, we had to have our time with him. We weren't ready to let him go yet.
Right.
We weren't ready to say goodbye.
Sure.
But when time came, there were very few tears, and many people very, very happy to see him finally relieved.
Absolutely.
He passed into a coma and passed on quietly.
Cool. Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate you calling in, and I appreciate what you're saying. You're absolutely right. And it's always a pleasure to hear from you. And thank you again for earlier too.
You're welcome. I didn't want to mention that because that's not something I haven't gotten the okay to talk about that.
Sure.
That's why I was calling about the animals.
Yeah, not going into specifics, but just thank you. It's really great that you were there to help.
I appreciate being given the opportunity to help them. Right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
All right, brother. Have a good night. Thanks. And we got another call, and this is from area code 845. You're on the air.
Hey, Brent. It's Carlton from the Pharmacy Seeds Network.
Hey, happy birthday.
Hey, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Thank you to everyone in chat for their birthday wishes. A couple of comments. One on the recent caller there, Sean, who's talking about animals have souls. I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
And I don't see how you can spend any time around a pet that you love and realize how connected you get to them and not think that they have a soul. I think the bigger part of that is, I think as people, and then especially with religious stuff, people are afraid to look at an animal as having the same capacity that they do. And so out of fear, I think, is more that mentality of, oh, they don't have souls. The downside, of course, is the implication that as much as they hate mice, they have souls too. So I'm murdering mice in my greenhouse. But hey,
it's as Sean said, it's the circle of life, But no,
right,
I agree. I think you're right. I think it's probably how people quantify their some putting these things underneath us. And I know that here's the thing for me, and I'll just draw from Christianity as an example. A lot of people say, well, the earth was created for us. It says so in the Bible, and it says, that these are here for us. So it doesn't matter what we do. And I'm like, my opinion is that, okay, so taking that context, if something was given to us to give in charge, we are given charge of something. It doesn't mean you treat it like crap. I mean that's an implied responsibility. If something was given to us to have charge and dominion over the earth, that means you take care of it. I mean, it's like you give a babysitter, your home and your children. You don't expect them to throw parties and lock your kids in the closet. You expect them to honor that and treat those things wonderfully and live up to that expectation. So I don't agree that we have a some kind of divine mandate that we can do whatever the hell we want.
I totally agree. If I give you something to take care of, I want it back in the same shape it was.
Yeah.
And if you're doing really well, it will come back in better shape than it was. That's truly caring for something and investing yourself and your time and your energy and your love into something. Abusing it, because you have dominion over it is just a very crude, low-level mentality. When you put love into something, that comes back to you. You're loving yourself and you're loving others all in one. Those two can't be separated, really.
Right. Yep, I agree, brother. I definitely agree. So what'd you do for your birthday?
So one other real quick thing. I know you want to close this stream out because it's 11 o'clock, but David Politis just released a video today, and he reads a couple of emails from people who have had experiences similar to the missing 411 cases.
Ooh.
I just wanted to point everybody to it to check it out because there's some very paranormal stuff going on in some of those emails, but well worth a listen. I think it's about a 40-minute video. Definitely worth checking it out.
Yeah, well, I did an episode a while back here on YouTube. It was the episode I named Almost Missing, and it's people that had close calls with what may be the same phenomena that are causing these people to be taken or disappearing. And so if you go back in the archives, check it out too. There is some really amazing stories, but I'm going to definitely go check that out because I'm absolutely fascinated by that subject.
Awesome. I will go back and check out Almost Missing. I had not caught that one yet. And
cool.
It's his official channel. It's Can-Am Missing Project is the YouTube channel name for people who want to check it out. And that's David Politis' actual official channel. And it looks like he's going to be posting like weekly with those type of emails and other stuff. So might even be able to source some good content over to the portal for that or from that.
Fantastic, brother. How did you celebrate today? What'd you do?
Oh, I celebrated by releasing a video on my YouTube channel. I don't really do much in the way of celebrating my birthdays. I had some bad experiences in the past and just decided it was easier to treat it like a normal day and be happily surprised if it's better. So that was what I did. And I went over and visited my parents briefly. And then this evening I ran our first Sunday night All Natural Net, which is a live stream and amateur radio combination.
Oh, very cool.
So a busy day.
Yeah, and just drop your channel name so people know.
Oh, yeah, the Pharmacy Seeds Network. That's FARMACY, as in Let Food Be Thy Medicine.
Oh, beautiful, brother. Well, happy birthday, and thanks so much for being a part of the show and calling in. I really appreciate it. It's great to hear from you.
Cool. Thank you. I appreciate having you here. Appreciate all that you do, and love coming in and joining the community every night. And thank you to everybody who came over from the Paranormal Portal to support my live stream tonight. Greatly appreciated. Oh, hey, and don't let the voice thing bother you, but beware. Drinking coffee beforehand gives me the same voice issues, so maybe switch to water earlier.
All right. Sounds good, brother. Thanks a bunch.
All right. Thank you. Have a great night, Brent.
Good night.
And peace all.
Very cool. Oh, that's wonderful. It's a great way to end the night. And now my voice is fine, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to the callers who gave me a chance to clear the pipes. Yeah, I'm much better now. So it's just some real naggy crap in my bronchioles there. It was driving me crazy, but it didn't want to move, but I got it moved. So I'm just fine now. Thank you for the love and maybe your healing vibes. All your healing vibes might have helped. So I guess that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a great Monday. Remember, Monday tomorrow, but put it out there. It's going to be a fantastic day, an amazing day, and maybe it will be. It's worth a shot. So love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. So if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. Check out the links that are in the descriptions for the Teespring, for the investigation journal on Amazon, and for the music, the Bandcamp music. If you're interested in some of the songs that are played on the Paranormal Portal, I would be honored if you check them out. Thank you guys. Love you. Have a great night and sweet dreams.